Hey guys, what's going on? It's me, Jay. I'm here to talk about this book I received from my friend Lisa for Christmas that I just finished reading, and that is "The Truths We Hold" by current Vice President Kamala Harris, but she wasn't Vice President at the time this was released. The book was released, or even the time I got it. Um, The book was released on May the 7th, 2019, and it's an autobiography up to um, uh, the point of when she is up to that point, and it goes through her emotions at the time of Donald Trump's uh, victory in 2016 and what she felt was the injustices that um, that the Trump administration had done to the country. Um, okay, what I think about the early part. The early part was the most interesting part to me because that was telling about her parents and how they met and how they had her. Coming from different backgrounds, immigrant parents, mother from India, father from Jamaica, how their parents met in college as civil rights activists, even before Kamala was born. And the story that is now a famous story that when her parents were marching in Selma in the 1960s, they asked her what she wanted, and the first words that she ever mouthed was freedom. We know that one because when she was running for president, she told it. So, and it talks about how mom was going to get was going to school to become a doctor for cancer research, which factors in later in the story when her mom unfortunately passes away from cancer. It talks about her parents' divorce, eventual divorce, and they're split up and how that impacted her as a young person, and how even though um, she was raised mostly with the Indian side of her family, her mom still tried to make sure that she had some connection with her black side, her Jamaican side. There's pictures in the book um, where she is in Jamaica, she's in Africa. Her parents went all over the world. Her dad being a political activist and her mom being a medical doctor. Then it talks about her college, going into Howard University, um, and why she chose that and why she chose specific sororities. A lot of it kind of reminded me of Barack Obama's book, the original Barack Obama book, Dreams from My Father, because both Barack Obama and Kamala Harris kind of struggle being multiracial, being mixed race, with having to connect with the African American um, experience because it is so different from your quote unquote typical African American experience that a lot of times I sense in the book that they are struggling with um, trying to connect with that and also juggle the realities of being immigrant and coming from a completely different culture. Um, and that is something that a lot of people that are racially mixed struggle with. Like when they start to think, well, what am I? Am I this or am I that? And particularly when you're in politics, especially if you're on the left side of the political spectrum, that, as we know, puts so much emphasis on racial and ethnic identity. Um, the right really doesn't do that, so it's more about your ideas than your persuasion. The right does it sometimes, starting to do it more so now with white identity, but in the past they didn't really do that. It was more um, your ideas than your racial identity, because what will inevitably happen is like what happens to Kamala a lot of times in this book. People, and what happened in real life, people will say, well, you ain't black enough. You don't share um, in the black experience of being a descendant of slaves or having roots in the American South. You don't share in that culture. You have a Jamaican culture or an Indian culture, or in Barack Obama's case, a Kenyan culture, or a white culture. So it was kind of like, in a lot of ways, Kamala Harris's story is parallel to that of Barack Obama's. Both started off on a community level. Both are biracial. Both um, have very unique sounding names, and both um, are not your conventional African American. Didn't have your conventional quote unquote African American upbringing. Just like, unlike, say, somebody like Michelle Obama. In Michelle Obama's book, parents migrated from the South to Chicago, and has your, what you would call, your conventional Black American experience. Kamala didn't have that. So just like with Barack Obama, it was very hard for her at first to establish that foothold in the black political landscape when she was running on the local level for district attorney, especially in a city like Oakland, that for many people don't know is a very important historic city in Black American history, because it was the city that the Black Panthers were established during the 1960s, during the Civil Rights Movement. Um, it was a very politically active city. So it was going to be very hard for a moderate to establish a political foothold. And that's what I think Kamala is. She is a moderate. The right wing, the radical right wing, tries to paint her as somebody on the far left. She's not somebody on the far left. And her political views really come through in this, because almost at every instance, every story, she tries to make some kind of political point, whether it is about terrorism, whether it's about criminal justice reform, which she is a big time supporter of harsh, harsh criminal sentences, and her record bears that out. And the stuff in this book um, bears it out. Much more than an autobiography, I felt that this book was a political manifesto for her political beliefs. It like even when her mother dies, she turns that into into a way to make a case for healthcare reform. It's like even when she talks about her relationship with Bo Biden, it's almost like in the book, her sympathies towards Bo Biden is trying to appeal to a job as vice president from his dad. You know, like it's just like I felt in the book that she was always on. She was she was never not tying it in somehow to her political beliefs. You know, like okay, this is a story about your mom passing away from cancer, and somehow you decided to twist that into something about the healthcare system. You know, this is a story about some woman that you've dealt with um, who was raped, and you somehow turned that into why should we should have harsher sentences for rape victims. I mean, every story, every anecdote seemed like it had some kind of political tie-in. And I'm glad that I got this book, and I recommend this book for everyone who wants to really know the type of person that we are dealing with. Somebody who really couldn't, not even in an autobiography, they couldn't even try. I mean, they couldn't even, leave politics at the door for a little while. And because, like, okay, even in Barack Obama's new book, he he there's times when he doesn't talk about his time as president. He talks about just his life, just regular things that he and Michelle did. It gets a little personal. But with Kamala in this book, everything somehow ties into stuff about politics, even the personal stuff. Even when she talks about her marriage to Douglas Emhoff. You know what I mean? Even when she talks about, like I said, her mom, that was really shocking to me because it's like, all right, woman, like, all right, your mom just died and that's what you care. I know that, okay, instances that something happens to us, it can lead us to tie it in somehow to our political ideology. But on every page, it seemed a little bit excessive to me. That was just me. You know what I mean? And then, of course, it sets it up for the ultimate tragedy, which is the election of Donald Trump, which was, I feel, the turning point for her to realize that she wanted to get into politics at a national level because she felt that this election of Trump was so tragic for people of color and communities that she represented, poor impoverished communities, that she wanted to get. That's the way it's framed in the book. But me personally, I just felt like a lot of people on the left felt like Donald Trump, Donald Trump was going to be so horrible for the country that this was an opportunity to sweep in and to make history as the first black, the first Asian, and the first female to be president or vice president. Because you know it was just like with George Bush. It was with Barack Obama to be the first African American president. It was like Bush was so bad that they had to go that route, and liberals knew that. They knew that they had to go with somebody different, somebody who didn't really have a proven track record like Obama. But the problem was that with Kamala, um, she had a proven track record. She had things that while she was Attorney General in California, that a lot of people didn't like. You know what I mean? That she heavily targeted African American males, particularly, and locked them up. But I think once she got to the national level, um, she kind of knew that that really wasn't going to matter. You know what I mean? Because she knew that Trump and them was so horrible. Trump and them was so they mismanaged um, the United States. Trump and Mike Pence so badly that anybody could step in that had a little bit of charisma and defeat them. You know what I mean? But I kind of saw that the same thing in 2016 with Trump. It was like the left was so bad with the social justice stuff, with the identity politics stuff, that kind of, like I said earlier, it kind of forced the right to move to that level. Just like how the right was so bad in 2007 that nobody was going to really mess with John McCain. So what this book really is showing me that um, political aspirations and political dreams are not so much about your identity or where you come from or what anybody else tells you that you can and can't do. It's more about timing. Timing is of the essence, and that she doesn't get into. But overall, I felt like that was the tone of the writing. But I felt like her narrative style was similar to Barack Obama, like in a sense that she tried to position it like she was coming out of nowhere, that she had a blank slate to her, that she was just some local politician. And on a national level, she kind of was. But it's a difference between being a community organizer, being a district attorney where you're actually making decisions. You know, when you're a district attorney, a lot of people can criticize you. A lot of people can look up your public record for scrutiny. And her record in the book is kind of sanitized, kind of glossed over. For example, I'll give you a quote. Says to understand when a person takes another life or molested a woman or raped the perpetrator deserves severe consequences. This is one imperative justice, but it's also to understand that fairness is in short supply, and our justice system is supposed to guarantee it. The job of progressive prosecutors is to look out for the overlooked and to speak to those whose voices aren't being heard, to see and address the causes of crime, not just their consequences, and it's to shine a light on the inequality and unfairness that lead to injustice. It is to recognize that not everybody needs punishment, and that's what many need, quite plainly. Um, so basically, she's saying, well, not everybody deserves harsh justice, but these people deserve harsh justice. But not taking, she then, in chapter two, she then contradicts herself because she points out the apparent inequalities in the justice system that she is trying to reform. So when you're an outsider, you can speak against it, but as soon as you get in that seat, you're ready to act just like every other racist person and every other prejudiced person that is quick to point a finger at African American men. You said that it was unjust, but as soon as you got in that seat, you were ready to act just like them. And I think, and I noticed this from this book, the similarities between her and Obama are, again, another similarity between her and Obama. They're able to say a lot without saying anything at all. You know what I mean? Like in the book, she's saying a lot of stuff, but a lot of it is empty platitudes. A lot of it is fluff, and a lot of it doesn't mean anything because it doesn't really match the the um the actions of her actions. You know what I mean? So it's just rhetoric. It's just empty rhetoric. You know what I mean? Like using a lot of big words, using a lot of complicated words, but you're not really, you spoke for 15 minutes, but you didn't really tell me what you actually believe, what you're actually going to do when you get into office. And I've seen that a lot with her. And I saw that a lot with Barack Obama. At least you can give Donald Trump credit on this. At least when Trump said he was going to do something, he said it clearly, he said it plainly. He said a lot of times it was irresponsible, but you understood what he said and you understood what he meant. Whether or not you disagreed with it or you agreed with it, it didn't really matter. It was irrelevant. A lot of it was bullshit. Most of it was, but it was clear and it was plain. With her, even more so than Barack Obama, she says a lot of things without saying really anything at all. It's just political speak. You know what I mean? You might as well be speaking Chinese. You might as well be speaking Arabic. You know what I mean? Like, you're not really saying anything much at all. You know what I mean? Like, the entire book is that. The entire book, like I said, is a political manifesto. But it's a political manifesto, but it's not a political manifesto in the sense that you never you never get a clear idea of what exactly it is that she means. Like, it would be interesting to say, you know, to speak to her in a dialogue and be like, well, what did you actually mean by that? You know what I'm saying? It's like reading um reading scripture, right? Like a lot of times you can read something from the Bible, something from the Quran, and you can read a whole lot of it, but you don't understand it because the language is not clear. So within just that one sentence that I just read to you, she just contradicted herself 3 times. She said that they deserve severe and harsh punishment, but at the same time, they don't deserve severe and harsh punishment. Well, you're speaking out of both sides of your mouth. You're saying on the one hand, they deserve harsh punishment, on the other hand, they don't. So either they deserve harsh punishment for their crimes or they don't. You know, which one is it? You know, um, I got from her that she is a very duplicitous person. You know, that on the one hand she'll say one thing, and on the other hand she'll say whatever. Another thing in another chapter that contradicts itself. And the reason why I recommend this book to people is to understand the type of individual that we're dealing with. We're going to deal with a person who really doesn't, I don't think she has a political ideology. I think her political ideology is the same as other mainstream left wing political pundits, but she just speaks well. She's articulate and she's attractive. You know what I mean? And she's forthright. She says exactly what she wants to say, but not necessarily in a way that people can understand it. You know what I mean? Like, more so in the debates that she had with Pence, her personality, her real personality came out. But in this book, her personality is just a political pitch each chapter. You know, each chapter she's pitching a different political point. I mean, this is supposed to be a book about your life and how you felt at the moment of the events that shaped your life. Other than the original first part, that doesn't exist in this book. Like, the deeper you delve into the book, the more into the political side of it you get. I mean, yes, because she becomes more immersed in political life, but instances in your personal life, like when you met your husband or when your mom died, don't have to be opportunities to talk about relational responsibilities and the role of feminism in society, or healthcare reform as it pertains to your mom. There don't have to be opportunities to spout political ideology when it has to do with something in your personal life. That's crazy. You know what I mean? So I do recommend this book. I'm taking nothing away from Kamala Harris' achievement of breaking color and gender barriers, and I'm taking nothing away from her as a person. Again, just like Rush Limbaugh, I didn't know her. I don't know her as a person. I'm just saying, from the book, I felt like this was a political pitch. This was um, a chance for a woman, through her unique background, to be able to appeal to the particular frustrations of the people under Trump, to say, listen, I can do a better job, and here's why my life reflects um number one, what they're looking for in terms of gender, because Trump was very misogynistic and very sexist, so they're going to counter that with a woman. Number two, what they're looking for in racial diversity, because of Trump's racism and Trump's xenophobia. So you have somebody from South Asia, a region that has been plagued by a lot of Islamophobia, a region where immigrants from there have been plagued by a lot of Islamophobia, because a lot of people, especially in the States, they don't really know the difference between Indians, Arabs, Muslims, Sikhs, whatever. So they think, they're all from the same part of the world. And two, a chance to speak on African American issues and the whole Black Lives Matter thing. So she is trying to make a political pitch as to why she is the perfect person for the job in this entire book, and using her life story as, like, basically like a resume. Like a resume put into book form. That's what I felt this book was. It really wasn't a autobiography. It was a resume put into book form. But that is good if you are going to want to know the type of person that you're dealing with. So if you are into politics, this is politics. This book is politics heavy. You know, I enjoyed it because I am into politics. I am into policy. But if you're not into policy, if you want to know about just the person, this is not the book. This is not the book to learn about the person Kamala Harris. This is a book to learn about the person Kamala Harris and why that person is best for this job to unseat Trump. And using particular anecdotes from her life story in order to illustrate that. But overall, I enjoyed the book, and I didn't really learn anything really about her life that much like I would have wanted to, because again, I felt like every little anecdote she ties back into politics. Now, take a contrast. The other book that I got from Lisa for Christmas, the book about Ruth Bader Ginsburg. The book about Ruth Bader Ginsburg doesn't go into doesn't tie into every legal ruling that Ruth Bader Ginsburg ever made. From what I'm reading now, Ruth Bader Ginsburg's book is just about the person Ruth Bader Ginsburg, not about the person Ruth Bader Ginsburg, why she was perfect for the Supreme Court. You know what I'm saying? So, um, the parts I did like though were the parts of the pictures with her family, and the little footnotes about that because that didn't tie anything into politics. But I enjoyed the politics part. Don't get me wrong. I just felt like every little thing didn't have to tie into an overall political framework. You know. But I do recommend this book. Anyway, guys, don't forget to like and subscribe. Peace. Love you.